About the author. James McQuitty was born in Putney, London in 1950, and worked there for many years before moving to Ryde, Isle of Wight, UK in 1992. He began to seriously study spiritual philosophy in 1981, and at this time he also began to regularly attend demonstrations by the renowned medium Jessie Nason. Since then he has had many personal experiences and seen spirit visitors on numerous occasions, as well as receiving a great number of spirit communications via other mediums. These include a trance communication message that led to him becoming an author, with the release of his first book in 1994. In his books he shares an understanding of our true status in this universe, which is that of immortal souls, and much, much more. His writing style is easy to read and understand, enabling even those who are new to the subjects covered to finish highly informed and greatly inspired. More about the author. The following additional information was included in the 1998 edition of Golden Enlightenment 2. Although, here and there, and principally to avoid repetition, I have edited it a little. I am a seeker of truth, although I freely admit that I still have much to learn, for as one aspect of truth unfolds another which needs explanation is glimpsed, and in this way we are all guided forward. I do not remember a great many incidents of a psychic or spiritual nature occurring during my formative years, but a couple are worthy of recount. The first of which occurred when I was around 11 years of age. During an accidental collision with a motorcycle I was propelled upward from my bicycle, and while in midair it seemed as though time stood still, for I was halfway through a somersault when everything appeared to freeze, and it was as though I heard a voice say something like, "Stay calm and complete this somersault like a school gymnastic exercise, and you will be all right." I managed to do as instructed and landed upon my feet without injury, and for years after thought little more about the incident, in much the same way as many other children who, having experienced phenomena, just accept it as natural. Another incident, or series of incidences, occurred when I was around the age of 14 or 15 years. Like most teenagers, I loved the modern music of the time, such as the marvelous melodies produced by the Beatles, and I often stayed in my bedroom, even in the cold of winter, with no such luxuries as central heating, while I listened to records. I used to think how easy it would be to write the words for songs, and would often mentally construct my own songs with words and tunes echoing within my mind. To my amazement, I then began to hear the very songs which I considered I had mentally constructed, being broadcast upon the radio. I was always reasonably rational in my thinking, so wondered whether I had heard the songs before, and having forgotten, only copied them. But this became an impossibility, when once again a song I had imagined only a night or two earlier, was played one morning on the radio, after which the disc jockey announced, "For the very first time on radio," and further said a new release. For a time I thought someone was tuning into my mind and stealing my ideas, but the phenomena soon faded, and has never since repeated. What I now understand to have happened, is that I was the one tuning into some frequency of the ether, or the unofficial airwaves of thought which surround this planet, and hearing songs which were being prepared for release. At 16 years of age, out of curiosity and a desire to know whether there truly was life after death, which no adult I had ever met at that stage in my life seemed to dare question or consider, I made my first visit to witness a medium demonstrate, to prove life after death. In her messages she gave such clear evidential proof of survival, to so many of those in attendance, and all given freely with love and without monetary gain, that I was totally convinced of the genuine nature of what had been presented. An occasional spiritual link was around me during the 1970s, such as a friendly push on my shoulder as I crossed Peckham Rye, in London, which I somehow knew was from my grandfather, and the sudden feeling of what I can only describe as euphoria, total elation and well-being, overwhelming me, when I knew all of the unseen reality and all which really matters, is at peace, in harmony, and of beauty. However, it was 1980 before my real spiritual awakening began, for while employed in Saudi Arabia I truly discovered the power of prayer. It was after witnessing an Egyptian work colleague enjoying the use of his prayer mat that I was inspired to try prayer for myself. For I was feeling in need of some upliftment, when, with the memory of the Egyptian still in my mind, I came across an old unused prayer mat, and decided to give prayer a try. The spiritual upliftment I received was immediate, so from that time forward, I began to make use of prayer whenever I felt the need. Upon my return to England, early in 1981, I began to seriously renew my quest for spiritual knowledge, when by coincidence, or guidance, I found that each week mediumship was being demonstrated not too far from where I lived. Amazingly, it transpired to be the same medium whom I had seen when 16 years of age, who was the demonstrator. Her name was Jessie Nason, and she was a master of her craft, and even though she was happy and willing to demonstrate to the smallest group in any size room or hall, she was so renowned for her ability that she had, upon invitation, successfully demonstrated in the Royal Albert Hall in London. Such was her fame, capability, standing and status in the field of mediumship, she became the first medium in history to demonstrate clairvoyance on British television, when she appeared on The David Frost Show, then went on to appear in Ireland on The Gay Byrne, Late Late Show, with great success on both occasions. Although when I began to attend Jessie's weekly demonstrations, I knew none of this, and it was years later before I realized I had started my investigations by observing one of the finest mediums in the country. Jessie was the first medium to supply me with personal and conclusive proof of survival. When she reunited me with a departed grandfather, she also correctly foretold who my next employers were to be, and she was also the first to suggest that I too could develop spiritual gifts. Over the years which have followed, I have attended hundreds of demonstrations, given by almost as many different mediums, in various parts of the country, and only on rare occasions could I dismiss all the information passed as totally inconclusive. I have received hundreds of personal messages at public demonstrations, and many more during private sittings, some with mediums of fame and high repute within the spiritualist movement. As far back as 1982 I was even given messages that I should be writing, and was told I would receive inspirational help, and I tested this one night before sleep by asking for proof, and just as I was about to fall asleep I received an entire script suitable for television in one amazing inspirational flash. I wrote down as much as I could remember, but have never drafted it properly. Again, this time in 1991, during a sitting with an entranced friend, when I asked what I should be doing, her guide told me I should be wilting, and she, the entranced friend, knew nothing of my much earlier message. This time I decided to take heed of the advice, and upon moving to Ryde, Isle of Wight, in 1992 to find peace away from the big city rat race, I began to put my first tentative thoughts and ideas on paper, and this led to the first version of Golden Enlightenment. Since 1986, I have seen spirit world visitors on many occasions. The first such appearance having taken place in the Forest Hill area of London where, at that time, I was living. It was during the early hours one morning when a noise woke me, and I saw a spirit lady walk clean through my closed bedroom door. She proceeded to look around, before vanishing from my limited psychic vision. This was repeated the very next night, but on this occasion it was a younger spirit lady. Some of my friends, who are also practicing mediums for communication, told me there were spirits who visited that particular house, but the spirit visitors never bothered me, and in a way their presence was reassuring, for I consider it to have been my privilege to have seen first those two ladies, and over the years since, many more spirit visitors, guides and helpers, as well as several spirit animals. On occasions, during the middle of the night, I also hear spirit bells, and this phenomena was predicted by a medium several weeks before it began. As I have said, I appreciated the spirits who visited the house in Forest Hill, and I suppose I must have met with their approval, which is more than can be said for a friend of mine, as the following account details. In the house just mentioned, I had a party which ran into the early hours of the next morning, and a male friend made use of a spare bedroom for the night, but unfortunately his presence did not meet with the approval of my spirit visitors. For in the dark early hours I woke to hear a noise downstairs, and upon investigation found my guest trapped between the locked porch and front doors. He said he had got up to visit the lavatory, which was next to his bedroom, when a spirit gentleman grabbed him by the neck and marched him downstairs, opened the door, and pushed him outside, while saying they didn't want him in the house. He never stayed again. A series of messages which I received from several different mediums, over the course of 2 or 3 years, did cause me some confusion, for I was told of a twin brother in the spirit world, who would one day give his name, and my mother knew nothing about him. Eventually I cleared up the mystery when I received confirmation through an entranced medium that my brother is called White Cloud, and that plans for his intended birth as my twin, which we had been on a number of previous occasions during past incarnations, had this time been changed, with him on this occasion choosing to stay in the spirit world to act as my guide. I have been told about some of the past lives we have shared, including one as girls, thousands of years ago, when we were training in a special temple where we were learning about sound vibrations, but passed during an earthquake. The name White Cloud has since been confirmed to me on many occasions, and I have even heard him personally speak, through another entranced medium and friend. My former partner also channeled information concerning him, and both of our lives together as members of the Apache tribe. When I was known as Silver Birch, and she as Little White Bear, her sister from that lifetime also communicated, and she was known as Little White Cloud. Some of what I have said may not be satisfactory evidence to convince those who do not wish to believe, or even those who would like conclusive proof of eternal life, as the written word can never fully achieve this. But suffice it to say, if any reader should earnestly and truthfully seek, they will find communication is not only possible, but is occurring every single day, all over the world. One only has to allow those in the spirit world the opportunity and right conditions to communicate, for them to do so. Over the years I have also studied written spiritual teachings, including those of many past and present mediums, along with the highly informative teachings of wisdom received from those who are living within the spiritual realms. When such information is combined with personal evidence and experiences, producing a corroborated understanding, I believe the final conclusions make a good basis for presenting the contents of this book as spiritual knowledge, truth and wisdom.